Okay, I'll call the Fortuna City Council meeting for Monday, October 6th to order. Join me for the flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Conley.
Present.
Councilmember Mobley.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Here.
Mayor Trent.
Here. Now we have a proclamation, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and Mayor Pro Tem Johnson is going to read that.
In recognition and support of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, whereas October is annually recognized as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and whereas progress continues to be made towards violence prevention, domestic and intimate partner violence remains a serious issue affecting all people regardless of age, race, ethnicity, sex, gender, socioeconomic status, literacy, sexuality, ability, religion, culture, and immigration status. And whereas domestic violence and intimate partner violence violates an individual's dignity, security, and humanity with systematic use of control through physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic abuse. And whereas children exposed to domestic violence can experience long-term consequences, including difficulty at school, substance abuse, behavioral problems in adolescence, and serious adult health problems. And whereas Humboldt Domestic Violence Services has been serving Humboldt County since 1977 to continuously support all those living with or escaping abuse, whereas only together can we change the health and safety of our community by challenging the societal norms that perpetuate violence. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Fortuna proclaims October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. The Council celebrates Humboldt Domestic Violence Services' 46 years of effort to improve community safety by breaking the cycle of domestic and intimate partner violence. Signed this 16th day of October 2023 at the City of Fortuna. And do we have someone ready?
Thank you. Let me take a moment to say a few words. The proclamation pretty much said what it's all about. As you know, we were founded in 1977.
Is the microphone on?
We have two locations.
Can you wait just a second? We got to turn the microphone on. If the microphone's on, people out on the TV can't hear it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
As you know, we were founded in 1977, and we actually have two locations. We have a business office, and we also have a shelter where women and children can come in fleeing a domestic violence situation. The two locations are located within Humboldt County. We are a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365 days a year operation. We have staff that service a hotline where anyone can call 24 hours and get immediate help, either just if they want advice or a recommendation, or if they need extraction from a domestic abuse situation that is very dangerous, then we can help to arrange for the go out and with the police department and find them appropriate housing. Our safe haven has facilities. It's actually a residential home. Both of our locations, the Safe Haven, which is the domestic violence shelter, and our business office are at non-disclosed locations for the safety of the clients and also our staff. We have, at the actual safe haven, we have room for 2 families, plus 2 additional women, a maximum of 12 beds. If that should get filled, and even under other circumstances, we have hotel vouchers that we can give to folks that want immediate and perhaps short-term locations where they can get an immediate safe environment. It must be, the domestic violence must be between intimate partners. If there's, say, 2 students at Cal Poly Humboldt that are their roommates and they're duking it out, that doesn't count. They have to be in a intimate partner domestic violence relationship. And we also have children that come to the shelter too. We have actually a instruction program for the children while they're there, and we work with the local schools to help maintain their educational process. We have a number of advocates. I think I said earlier that we have 12. I'm trying to think how many. We have 15 staff, and they primarily come from Cal Poly. They are sociology or majors that or hopefully will think about going into this particular field. Many of them are bilingual. We also, as I say, provide hotel vouchers and Section 8 housing and transportation. If there's a family that knows of a relative locally or outside of the area, we can provide transportation of vouchers for them to get to that location, whether it be bus transportation or whatever it would take to get them to a family that can accept them. We want to get the individuals in a most secure, tranquil environment as quickly as possible. Once again, I'd like to thank Mayor Trent and the City Council for recognizing Awareness Month. We certainly do appreciate it, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all that HDVS does.
Yeah, thank you.
Now we have oral comments from the public. Anybody from the public that would like to speak on an item that is not on the agenda, and you have 3 minutes. Anybody like to speak?
Mayor Trent and City Council, my name is Francine Riza. I just wanted to express to you my disappointment in Cameron leaving the Park and Rec Department. I think he had a vision for this community, and if you look around at all the things that have been accomplished while he has been here, not only in Roner Park, but in Newburgh Park, which I'm sure you're all aware of, and future ideas and things that he was working on, I think it's a huge contribution to our community. Keeping those facilities together in good working order and working on those future projects was a really big job. He also started a lot of programs for all different age groups. So the Park and Rec Department works from, as you know, younger children all the way through adults, and I think Cameron really tried to address all of us in those programs. To me, the community the Park and Rec Department is a place where people come together. They play, they learn, they become involved, they get to know one another, and I think that this fosters pride and respect not only for each other, but also for the community and the facility where they are having the activities. So I think whoever fills his position has some really big shoes to fill, and I hope that that person will also continue in his vision and also look to the future for what our community can continue to be and grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments?
Hello, Jim Riza. I'd like to reiterate what was just mentioned in regards to Cameron's job that he had done in his service to the community. I just hope that somebody is going to pick up the role of moving the swimming pool idea ahead. I think that is so important. I know that there's some committees still being formed, and I hope that things can keep going on that end. I think it's super important to have a swimming pool in our community. Excuse me. On another note, thinking of businesses and knowing how difficult it is to be a business person, I look at things like the Fortuna Theater that has been dysfunctional since the earthquake that we had, and I know that I believe that there was water damage there, and I can only imagine if there's water damage, it must be all the more in ruin from the damage from the water. But anyway, I'm wondering if there's any sort of not heat, but any sort of dialogue that's happening with the owner of the theater to make it accessible to the people that utilize it. I wasn't a regular theater goer here, but I think a lot of people utilize it. And I'm also wondering some of the other businesses in town. Little Caesars that opened up. It took them a long time to make that pizza parlor happen, and all of a sudden it is defunct, and I'm not sure what's going on. So I'm just wondering if there, especially the theater, if that could be more of an opening for the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would you like to give a little update on that theater, please?
Yeah, maybe I'd recommend is Mr. Risa give me a call and I have information about each one of those things.
Okay.
But very generally, that's the decision of the theater owner not to restart it. It's mostly for economics. It's a private business and that's their choice. But we have been in communication and reiterated the city's interest in seeing that and offered help. But really, that hasn't been taken up. Really, it's a business decision that they're making right now.
Thank you. And if you'd like further information, you can call the city manager. He'd be glad to talk to you. Any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. And we'll move on to the consent calendar. We have 10 items. We have all of our monthly reports. And then we have authorization of destruction of selected Fortuna Police Department files and authorization of destruction of selected Finance Department files. Does anybody want to pull any of them? No? Okay, then do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve consent calendar items A through K.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, passes. We'll move to city business. Approve a supplemental budget request for the Fortuna Police Facility Remodel Project. Staff report, please.
Yes. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I'll be presenting the staff report this evening, but I'd like to acknowledge that there's a lot of parts that go into it, including some assistance from our finance director, our police chief, and our police lieutenant, in addition to our city manager. So I just want to acknowledge all of their help in putting this together. So I do have a PowerPoint I'm going to bring up here. Okay. And very good. Okay. So I will be presenting, as mentioned, we are asking a supplemental budget request for the police facility remodel project, which is City CIP number 9104, in the amount of $430,000. I'll move through. There's various aspects and components that go into this budget request, and we certainly don't take this lightly, so want to take our time and move through each of these items. And by all means, if you have any questions as kind of we're moving along through it, please let me know. So as the council knows, the project was in the design phase for a lot of the COVID times, and then moving into early 2023 is when we were finally able to bid the project and award it to our prime construction contractor. The low bidder was Sequoia Construction Specialties. So right here is the little table that was presented in the staff report with staff's estimate of project budget at the time of awarding the project to Sequoia Construction. This included all of the other parallel project activities that we foresaw at that time that needed to happen in order to take the existing 2600 Newburgh Road building and make it a fully functioning police facility. That included a preliminary construction budget of $2.92 million. That included the base bid from Sequoia Construction in addition to a 15% construction contingency. We had estimated the PG&E fees for the electrical service upgrade to be between $50,000 and $100,000. We had submitted our PG&E application at that time, but we didn't know what the final design was going to be, what the transformers and all the things that were going to go with that. And so we did not have that included in the prime contractor's contract to do the on-site work at that time. NILEX, that is the city's IT consultant, so that's moving computers, getting networks going, getting racks in, getting all the kind of electrical and data systems start up at the new facility. The Silky Communications at $150,000, that is the new police dispatch radio system and the antennas on the new tower that have recently gone up. We did speak about this, I believe it was April or May, when we brought a business item for the award of the communications contract. And we did note at that time, I believe we asked for $215,000 as a not to award amount. We did not adjust our budget at that time. We were hopeful that we would be, having more construction contingency that could cover it. So that is an item I'll talk about a little bit more, but one we have seen before. And lastly is Whitchurch Engineering. They are the engineer of record for the project and providing some inspection and some oversight as necessary. So we had a total estimated project cost at that time of $3.325 million. So with that, we jumped right into construction and just want to note a little bit about the progress of how we've come along so far. And it's been quite a transformation so far. I know a lot of folks are seeing more of it now that a lot of it's happening outside, not just inside. But to date, pretty much all of the interior framing and all of the exterior building additions have been completed. The plumbing rough-in has been completed. The HVAC system, so the ducting, a lot of the electrical work, a lot of the access control and security work is getting near completion, or rough completion, I should say. And a lot of the siding, roofing, windows, things of that nature are really starting to take shape too. So it's really fun and exciting to see the project really starting to take shape, and you can really start to see the vision as it's moving forward. I have some photos here that are kind of interesting. They're pretty much taken from the same location. One is the pool room day, the day that the concrete was poured. So you'll see just a big open room with fresh concrete on the ground. And now the next picture to the right is actually as the offices are starting to get framed in. You see a lot of the duct work, a lot of the wiring, the soundproofing, insulation, all those other things that are back in kind of the administrative wing of the future facility. So looking ahead, just to provide a little bit of information for the public and for the council on kind of where we are now and how we're going to get to the completion of the project. So we're in about mid-October. And we are projecting that the project will be completed at this point sometime in March. We had initially hoped for the end of the year or maybe first thing early January. There's been a number of changes to the project and some change orders and some additional work we've had to do, and it just naturally makes the schedule continue out a little further. They are making great progress. They're working hard. They're working every day, and we're doing everything as fast as we can to ultimately still meet that goal of getting the police over in the new facility as soon as they can. So in October, they'll be finishing windows, siding. They'll probably start exterior painting, which of course is always exciting, makes everything start to look more finished. In November, they'll be moving to insulation, drywall. We'll be doing the site work at that time, so concrete, paving, building the block wall up front, and building the parking structure, which some of you may have seen those steel posts coming out of the ground in the back. Those are for the covered parking area that's going to be for staff there in the secure parking. December, landscaping, fencing, interior paint. January, installing the acoustic ceiling tiles, finishing the electrical work mostly, and then installing cabinetry, countertops, all the built-in items that are part of the offices and the open spaces. February will be flooring and touch-up work. In March, mostly just cleanup and punch list items is what we project at this time. We're also working concurrently with PG&E, AT&T, all the other folks that need to physically hook up to the building, whether it be power, data, those types of things. And that really kind of fits in line with their projected timelines to complete to sometime early in 2023. We hope that they're a little bit ahead of us as opposed to being significantly behind, like happens sometimes in remodel projects. So now I want to kind of pivot over to talking a little bit more on the content of tonight, and that's talking about some of the revisions and some of the change orders that have taken place over the initial 6 months that we've been in the project so far. So as the council is probably aware, we started the project with a relatively good idea of what the project was going to be, but we had a lot of uncertainties given that it was, one, a remodel, and there's always new things you're going to find as you get into a remodel that you didn't necessarily anticipate. But also, as we've been working through the project and really starting to lay things out physically, whether that's framing a wall or looking at a room or doing an electrical layout, really taking that last opportunity to evaluate, are we doing it right? is this going to meet the function and the need of the police department? Is there a way that we can change things and make it better now that you're seeing the physical space or you're experiencing the physical space? So to that end, actually to date, we have moved through 56 proposed change order changes to the plans, which have ultimately been compiled into 11 change orders that we've executed for the project. We have done a number of design revisions. We've officially updated the plan set 3 times to make modifications throughout the facility, not only to address items that have come up, whether that's something structural that needs to be addressed or something that deviates in reality from what the plans noted, but also, again, in areas where we're trying to really provide more value, more function, and increase the usability and kind of the overall function of the project. And so to that end, we are approaching a point now where our existing construction contingency, which was included in the initial contract, it is not gone, but it's going to be relatively soon here. So in order to keep moving the project forward, we need to get the additional budget that we need to do to complete the necessities that we have at this time. So I wanted to speak a little bit to some of the unexpected construction issues. These are some of the maybe less glamorous things, but you just kind of get into on a remodel project, and every one of them has their unique set of circumstances, and this particular building and project has not been without those. We've had to provide temporary power and gas relocation for the project, as PG&E's facilities were not quite coming in and out of the building the way they originally anticipated, so we have had to kind of do the PG&E connection process twice, which has been interesting, but it has ultimately gone relatively smooth, and PG&E has been very responsive in working with us to keep us moving forward with minimal impacts to project schedule. We found a number of areas where the existing roof, which it initially had appeared to be in relatively decent condition, actually had a reasonable number of leaks, and you really get very clear when you get into a room and you rip everything off every wall, and then absolutely everything becomes entirely apparent at that time. So there's been a number of addressing areas of rot, nothing super major, but certainly distributed and consistent in certain areas that we have taken care of. And we are actually at this point getting pretty much all new roofing on the facility too, which will be a very good asset and will last a very long time on that building. And it's good that we're doing it now when we have the opportunity. Building insulation, pretty much all the insulation in the entire building needed to be replaced to be up to modern code, and then actually in a number of areas there was no insulation to begin with. Structural footings, we've had to make some modifications to that in order to meet the intent of the plans based on how much fill has been brought into the site historically. And there's been a number of electrical and ventilation related design revisions that we've had to do ultimately to meet the intent of the plans and with what was originally part of the project to remain and what was part to be replaced had to be reconciled. So that was kind of the big picture things that have been encountered during construction. That's the contingency related items. There's also been a number of areas where I think we've tried to find crafty and creative ways in order to increase the the function of the project and ultimately make the project better long term. So a few of those items I wanted to highlight here that have been some change orders that we have issued is, one, the siding of the building. As we got into construction, it became apparent that the building had about at least four different types of siding in various places on the outside, and matching that was going to be very difficult. So we worked with the contractor and actually got a really great price to just start fresh and remove some of the rot areas that we'd looked at and re-side the whole building with a consistent material. Doing that in addition to painting the whole thing is just going to make the exterior of the building look really good and also be the more modern materials that are going to last for a very long time. This building has minimal overhangs and some other things that make it tricky with wood siding like was there before, so this is really going to make it stand the test of time. Another item you'll see over on the right was one of the more functional revisions we did. The initial design for the records and reception area was a little more simplistic in its original iteration. As we really kind of got in there and laid the room out, it became apparent that it wasn't something we felt was going to be a good public face for this facility, function, good long term, and allow for expansion of use over time. So we went in and really, tried to take the city hall, the front counter where everybody comes to pay their water bills as inspiration to try and revamp the area and, make it larger windows, built-in desks, more area for, the public to interact with staff when they're in that area. And we feel like that's going to be a really nice addition to the facility. It's, one of those areas that as you make those revisions, you start to notice other propagating changes that we had to deal with, but it's all worked out really nice so far. And the last one down below, it, of course, just looks like red lines on a sheet of paper, but as we really start to get out there and do the building additions, one thing that we certainly noticed is that a lot of the existing parking area, the concrete, a lot of those things that we were going to do some more minor rehabilitation activities to initially, they really needed complete reconstruction to be a properly functioning facility in the long term, and to avoid to not have to just a few years down the line, take the Band-Aid fix that we did and then redo it again anyway. So working creatively with the contractor, we were able to provide some city resources, some city material, and execute a change order. Now we're looking at repaving the parking area, redoing all the concrete, redoing the ADA spaces, and pretty much making the entire exterior of the site brand new too, and not necessarily the remodel feel, but it'll have all new pavement, all new concrete, all new landscaping, a little more cohesive. And again, it'll really help with having to address any immediate maintenance needs in any of those areas for quite some time, which is important, because those needs would not have gone away if we had not addressed them. And it's always best to do it now when you have somebody, if you can. So moving over to the updated project budget, this is a similar table. You'll see there's the items on the left and then the original estimate. This matches the slide we went over initially. In the middle column with numbers is the updated estimate. So that's the total amount for the project. So we are estimating a potential overage of $183,000 for the construction contract. So that includes change orders that have yet to be executed but that we anticipate. It also includes sitting down with the contractor and really thinking about other areas where we may still have some vulnerabilities, or we may still need to address some items that have not come up yet. We're really trying to be ahead of the curve on that and plan for it and have the ability to make those decisions when they happen, because projects like these, they move every day and they move quickly, and you need to be able to react to the issues as they come up. We're very much hoping that amount has some conservatism into it, to where it's likely not going to take all that, but we're really trying to be thoughtful and trying to do it once, and trying to not undersell the importance of some of the items that we're running into. So for PG&E, we're looking at coming in a little bit under budget, which is great. NILEX, which again is our IT startup, we're still thinking we'll come in at budget on that item. The dispatch radio system, as I mentioned, that ended up being a little bit more expensive than anticipated when the contract was awarded. The construction engineering line item, I will say a project of this magnitude, you usually have about 10 to 15% of your project cost in construction engineering and management. We have taken on this project very heavily on the staff side, managing it with our own department and really running and acting as the construction manager, which is significantly saved on cost. Probably to the order of a few $100,000. So we feel generally we're within there, but with as many items as we've come across that have required revisions or reissuing sheets, we have had to engage our designers a little bit more than we had initially anticipated. And then lastly is a new line item that's actually not included in the previous table, and we're calling that the miscellaneous facility outfitting. So at the onset of construction, we all kind of started sitting together collectively as staff and thinking about all those other non-construction and non-project related items that would be needed in order to move in and start working in that facility. And some examples of that are things you don't typically include in a construction contract, like appliances in the kitchen, blinds and windows that need privacy, tables and shelving in places that need additional storage, now that there's more storage available in the facility. So I know that the lieutenant and the chief have worked to put together a list of some of those items that they anticipate requiring, and this is the budget anticipated for that. By all means, they are able to speak to that a little bit more so than I, if the council has questions. So with that brings the total ask for this particular portion up to potentially $318,000. As you probably know from the staff report item, the budget request is for $430,000. So this next piece I wanted to bring is a little bit of a standalone item because it is not required or potentially required to complete the project, but it is an item that staff is recommending that we budget for and move forward with at this phase, and that is installing solar on the facility, solar panels. So when we did our PG&E application, we also did the interconnection application, which would allow us to be able to put panels on the building. We did get that in before the rate structure change, so the city would be under the more favorable NEM 2 rate structure, I believe. And we have made revisions to the electrical systems in the plans and provided conduits and some other things to actually make the facility plug and play, whether we did it now or whether we do it years from now. All the preliminary work is done to where somebody would just have to come do it. Well, we have a design all ready to go, and looking at the capital cost of installing the solar system, $112,000. That includes about a 10% contingency in there. I don't really believe we'd need one because a lot of this is new electrical work, and we've already done a lot of the due diligence stuff during the construction project. But we anticipate with the array size that we're looking at of savings, somewhere on the order of $14,000 a year. So this system could pay for itself in about 8 years. They're warranted for 25 years at a fairly high performance rate, and so that's where we'd anticipate ultimately somewhere between maybe $300,000 and $350,000 in electrical savings over the life of the project. And I will note, this is a large facility, and we do have our HVAC system, our water heating, and a number of other things are actually all electrical appliances. So the solar would really provide that extra benefit because we're not using as much gas in this facility. So moving over to a funding plan, sitting down and speaking with the city manager and our finance director, our plan and our request would be to fund these additional items through Measure E reserves. So these two tables you'll see here, these are from the fiscal impact section. I'll just kind of summarize them, but again, by all means, our finance director can answer any of these in much greater detail than I. But when we sat down and made a funding plan for the project, when we awarded construction, that included $825,000 from Measure E reserves, and after all the other obligations and projects that went into Measure E, in addition to the shortfall of Measure E, which I believe didn't quite have as much revenue as was necessarily projected, it leaves us with a fund balance right now of about $2.1 million. Our operating revenue, I believe, and Aaron, please correct me if I'm wrong, I know that our goal is to keep 180 days of operating revenue in reserves at any given time, which I believe is around $1 million for Measure E. But $2 million, I believe, is the target that is usually been requested of staff to keep in those operating revenues, both for the general fund and for the Measure E reserves, I believe. So with that, with the $430,000 that we are asking for, you'll see those in the two rows below, the $318,000 and the $112,000 for solar. That would take the $2.1 million down to about $1.7 million, or about $300,000 lower than that kind of informally established target. So it would dip it a little bit down. I believe that staff would be committed to getting it back up to that number after the project was completed. So with that, I'll kind of end this, and I'm sure council has questions and some other things, but again, the staff's recommendation is to approve a supplemental budget request in the amount of $430,000 for the police facility project. And I'll leave you here. This lower little rendering right here is actually the current color scheme that we're looking at doing for the building, similar to City Hall, a little bit of the two-tone look with the dark blue, the gray, and the white trim, and some stone facade accents here and there. We are going to actually have the painting contractor come down and paint a couple little test areas, which would be kind of exciting. But yeah, we're happy with the progress of the project. We're extremely happy with the contractors we've got on the project. They've all been great, and I'm absolutely confident we're going to have a great project that's going to last for a very long time. So again, with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from council?
Yeah, a couple. What would be the footprint of the parking lot at the completion of the project? Is it going to go from back a walk all the way around to the back side gate there, entering into Newburgh Park.
Yeah, so what we call the secured parking area, which is the area inside the fence where staff primarily park, will somewhat mirror what it is now. The fence will bump out a little bit further to provide for more internal parking and a little bit more formalized parking. The area at the front of the facility, what you could kind of imagine is the public parking for EPT, will very much mirror what we provide. In this case, we are going to reconfigure it a little bit to make the ingress and egress out of there a little bit better. We are working on a plan for how we define out front what is the police facilities parking versus what is the overflow parking for the park. So that's going to be something that we at least somewhat address at the end of this project, is how do we section off that area to where we can provide, again, kind of that park use and then the police facility use. And it's a little bit more formalized and prescribed as opposed to how it is now, where it can
Free for all.
get a little chaotic. Yeah. So we're certainly thinking of that. We're thinking about, our fence alignments and how all these things come together so that we can, as a supplemental project, go over to that other side and really make that parking more functional itself too. So.
Thank you. And if I remember right, for solar, it's like the LED streetlights at the end of the 25 years, they should still maintain 80% efficiency. So
Yeah, and that's the warranty for these ones. And even when you hit the end of that warranty, they're still producing quite a bit. It's so they have value for quite a long time after the warranty period. But
thank you.
yeah, thank you.
No other questions from council? I'll open public comment. Anybody from the public have any comments on this? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve a supplemental budget request of $430,000 for the police facility remodel project CIP 9104.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. So now we'll move on to city manager's report.
No.
Did I miss one?
We have one more item.
Rims.
Oh, okay. Approve a supplemental budget request for the purchase of new record information management system server.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Trent, Honorable City Council, Chief Day with the Fortuna Police Department. I'll be providing the staff report tonight, and I'm going to try to get through this efficiently and quickly because I don't have a lot of voice tonight. Apologize for that. So tonight's project is a simple supplemental budget request that staff is recommending approval for $65,000 to replace the public safety REM server in the police department. And that server is essential to our records management system and our computer-aided dispatch system. A little bit of background. Our current server is about 8 years old. It was procured in 2015 and is currently running Microsoft 2012. Industry standard for server replacement is about 5 years, so we're about 3 years ahead of where we should have been, where the server is still actually operating without any problems. However, our biggest issue is the Microsoft 2012 software. We have reached the end of life for Microsoft support. That is any type of bug patches or fixes to the software. That ended on October 10th of this year. So in order to stay compliant with the California Department of Justice, we have to be operating equipment and an operating system that does have that support. And so that is kind of what is prompting the change and the recommendation for the SBR to improve and replace our current equipment. On July 26th of 2023, the Fortuna Police Department did reach out to our REMS contractor, which is Sunridge, as well as the city's IT contractor, Nilex, and we looked at what the costs associated with replacement would be. Those are broken down in the staff report as $39,667 and change for the acquisition of the new server, $78.88 for associated licenses, $11,500 for REMS integration, and in addition to this amount, staff is also asking for a contingency budget of about $5,000. So with the approval of the supplemental budget request, staff is recommending that council determine that the competitive bidding process is impractical pursuant to section 2.50.080 of the Fortuna Municipal Code. Again, this is due to contracts that are already in place with NILEX and RIMS. As far as the fiscal impact, we have about $13,750 coming from our AB 109 budget line, another $10,800 from the revenue generated through our outside agreements with agencies that we're providing dispatch services for, and about $44,550 from the general fund reserve. And with that, I would submit, and I can answer any questions that the council may have.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Okay, we'll open public comment. Anybody from the public have any comments on this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve supplemental budget request for the purchase of a new RIM server.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Now we'll move to city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor Trent. Just a few things to review the upcoming schedule. Our next council meeting's on November 6th at 6 o'clock p.m. Our next planning commission is on October 24th. It's likely that meeting will be canceled right now because we don't have any items that we need to put on there. So, but there will be an item the first week of the first meeting of November. Our next Measure E meeting will be on December 19th, still a little ways out. And then our next Roanoke Community Recreation and Park District meeting will be on November 2nd. And our next Fortuna Business Improvement District meeting will be on October 24th at 8:30 a.m. Just a couple of things for my verbal report. One, we are doing interviews this week for Parks and Recreation Director. We did have a number of candidates that we hope are qualified, so we'll be starting our interview process tomorrow for the replacement of the Parks Director. Also, there's a lot happening with the Roanoke Community Recreation and Park District. The district was invited to submit a full application for a USDA loan and has indications that the USDA will likely approve that loan. So that's really the biggest piece that we were missing in order to be able to proceed with the pool project. So it's a threshold of really moving to making that project a reality. There's a number of things to put in place that still need to happen, but we're working with the district to complete the full application. And one thing I'll note that city staff, myself, the former Parks Director, we're working as staff for the Roanoke Community Recreation District. Right now, it's just too much for me to continue to do all of those things. And so in talking with some of the board members of the Recreation District, they are bringing on a consultant from Plan West. Colette Sanchez is going to be helping. She also is the director for LAFCO, so she's familiar with assessment benefit districts and a lot of the aspects of the work. So Plan West is going to be coming on board to help support the completion of the funding the loan application, some of the 218 assessment, and a number of the other tasks. So that'll take some of the things off the city's plate that we've been doing because the city's been volunteering staff to be able to do that. But we'll continue to act as staff and clerk the meetings, hold the meetings here, and I'll continue to be involved and support the project. But it's going to take some of the staff burden off of city staff. So I was grateful for the board of wanting to do that and just to keep the project moving forward in a very expedited fashion. A couple of other things. We're still working on negotiation of the franchise agreement. We're getting close, and we have a draft that I'm working on markups for, so I expect to be bringing that back to the council in the near future. And we had some things that interrupted our schedule, but we do anticipate querying the council to a recreation workshop in the near future. So we'd like to do that somewhere in the next couple of weeks, but we don't have a time that we're proposing right now. And then one last thing you might notice over near 12th and K, there's been some drainage that has flowed down to the street over near Bob's. So I just want to let you know our Public Works is handling that. We're going to be taking care of that within the project, and it's something that's going to be alleviated. So we're aware of it. We've had some of those things reported, and that's something that's going to be fixed this week or next
week.
Next week. So if you've seen that or heard any reports, I just wanted to let you know that Brendan and the Public Works crews are on top of that. So that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Now we'll move to council reports. Councilmember Conley.
Yeah, thank you. I still have not had a meeting yet. That'll be next week. I did attend the Apple Harvest Festival. I went to about 3 of the stops, and it doesn't look like the hayride stopped anything. There was people all the way down the street, Main Street, and fire department was a good event. Clinton's was so packed that we didn't even actually get to go in. We kind of turned around, got some apple cider. I was glad to see everybody out there for the last festival of the year, and good to see everybody out in the community.
Thank you. Councilmember Mobley.
I also didn't have any meetings during the last time, but I did want to acknowledge our Public Works staff. There was something that was happening for them on Friday, acknowledging the great job that they do. And unfortunately, there was a miscommunication and I didn't hear about it, but excellent job through all the events. They're very much appreciated.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Yes, I have not had any meetings prior to today, but I do have HCOG meeting on Thursday, and we'll be kicking off our transit development plan, I believe, at that time. I also attended the meeting, the appreciation luncheon for staff. They do a wonderful job. I mean, when you figure the cruise for the Auto Expo goes from one end of town to the other, and they managed to take care of that. We have a safe event for that. Then on Saturday and Sunday, the car show and the awards, and they keep, the park staff keeps everything tip-top. That's not an easy job, but they maintain everything so that all the people coming out to the event can enjoy that. Rodeo, the same thing, all the events. I did get to drive the People Mover for transportation for the apple harvest, and as part of Kiwanis, which Ray is also a part of. We take our time, and that's our thing that we do for apple harvest, is run the People Mover. I want to thank Wyckoff's Plumbing for their supply of a vehicle to pull that People Mover with, and they made it all possible. And as usually happens for a community that works together, if it wasn't for our community partners, these events wouldn't happen. So every time you patronize a business in Fortuna, you're supporting them and supporting our community events at the same time. And that's all I have to report now.
Thank you. It was the chamber who put on that appreciation lunch, because none of our events would happen without our city staff, without our Parks Department, our Public Works Department, our Police Department. So anyway, we have a lot of good employees that really put on a good thing. We also, Supervisor Bushnell was there to thank everybody also. And I think that's all I have to report. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.